now, and we're about to go live in just 1 second. Does everybody have one, the agenda, and two, the documents? Or have y'all seen them, read them, all that good stuff?
Can you put them in the chat box?
No document.
I have the documents, sir.
I do not have the document, sir. I only have the.
I got the agenda though.
Okay. So if you go into, I don't know who all is doing this from their phone, but if you are not doing it from your phone, or if you have an open computer, if you go to the chat, the ComForce chat, you can go to those three dots or the eye symbol. There's a section that says view photos and videos. If you go onto there, the agenda will come up, and somewhere in between all these pictures, it shouldn't be down too far. It should be the pictures or the screenshots from the plan, which I will just share because apparently, so let me do that. And we are live already. Let's start by doing this. We got 60 people watching. First of all, thank you all for watching. I am not LaShondra Vernon, by the way. LaShondra Vernon has allowed us to use her Zoom today. I'm Von Mays, community activist. These are members of Community Task Force that all kind of had their own branches, I guess, or areas of expertise as part of ComForce. Today we are going to have a discussion. Okay, maybe that's me. About a couple of things, some community action plans that we've kind of built together, some things that I presented before in the past, and then Shantia is going to bring us up to speed on some things going on with MPS that we should be aware of. So everybody can go one by one while I find these documents and resend them into the chat so everybody can have it. Hold on. Everybody can go one by one and introduce yourself, say who you are, and a little bit about yourself while we get the stuff prepared.
I can start off. I am Gabby Taylor. Hey y'all, peace everybody. I am, what is going on here?
You turned your video off?
Sorry, I got a call as I was doing that. I'm like, what's happening? Because it didn't pop up right away, just my Zoom screen was still up. But yeah, I am a member of ComForce, Dream Team, Program to Parks, et cetera, and I am ready to get it cracking. I yield the floor with that.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shakila Morrison. I am a member of ComForce. I'm a member of Dream Team, and I help wherever it's needed. Next.
Good evening, everybody. As I said, I'm Shantia, Tia, Lady Jim, depending on how you know me. And I am an educator. I also am a part of ComForce, Dream Team, and Parents Unite MKE.
Good evening, everyone. I am Farina Brooks. I am founder of Dream Team Unite MKE, member of ComForce, and also a member of Parent United MKE.
My name is Bushra Rowland. I'm a member of ComForce, Dream Team, and wherever I am, wherever I'm needed, I'm there. So.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Lexi Sandoval. I'm really interested in the youth outreach, mental health realm of things, newly to the table. So just looking where I can get in where I can fit in. Here to help support.
Okay. There may be some other folks that join us during the conversation. If not, that's okay as well. But we've seen a number of issues in the past year. For those of y'all who may not have seen the live stream that happened with the health department, Office of Violence Prevention, and the police chief, myself, and some other folks that occurred yesterday. That live stream is up. This is kind of a similar conversation to talk about some of the issues people have, found really important to cover, which is, our outlook on what's going on out here with our youth, what's going on out here in our communities, and what is out here to help or to combat, to deter, or to prevent the things that are negative going on in our communities, the loss of life, accidents, car wrecks, stolen cars, all these different things. What is anybody doing about any of these things? Not just conversation. And so we wanted to kind of bring that conversation to the forefront because people don't really get to see that aspect of what we do. I know people are paying really close attention to the protests that have been happening. And of course, we all get that whole thing where people talk about, well, why are they protesting and why don't they ever talk about, these issues? Well, we do talk about these issues. We do handle these issues. People just don't pay that much attention to them or know that work is being done. So we want to bring that stuff to the forefront. And we will start with, let me see. So let me bring this up. Number one, I'm going to recap and I'll share my screen, and y'all can jump in as we go through each, thing. And let me know if y'all can see this screen share once I do it. Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. For those of y'all who don't know about this program, this is one of our programs from I believe last year or the year before. And this particular program is called TEXT, which stands for Tactical Extraction Team. Predominantly myself, Bushra, and Shakila deal with this aspect of what we do in ComForce, which is when we get, and I'll go through the wording here. And of course, we can start with our mission or the mission of the program, which is the TEXT or Tactical Extraction Team program was created as a community resident-led effort to aid and assist witnesses, domestic violence victims, and children escape or evade potential threats of harm and or safety. The focus is to respond to incidents that have a high possibility of occurring and or intervening prior to or during an escalation to violence. All members of TXT must be trained in several key aspects that encourage and instill safety, de-escalation, mental health, and medic first responder style skills. These interventions are done in a team manner and may include instances where members may be armed, unarmed, or armed with non-lethal, non-firearm tools. Loss of life or injury are last resort only. The safety of the individual in need and the safety of the team are first and top priority. TEXT is a precursor action-based program that leads into a direct need for safe and adequate temporary housing. Project Safe House MKE is geared towards assisting and providing a safe escape or housing resource to specifically women and children in emergency homelessness, DV, and or sex trafficking incidents. This space is provided free under assumed agreement to the below terms and conditions of occupancy. Safe houses are for your protection and safety. Please allow us to assist and help you through your storm. And in that you hear a pre-conversation to this program, which is the Safe House program. Project Safe House MKE is geared towards, I already just read that part. So we'll don't have to go over this. These are the actual guidelines to people who will stay in the house. So I'm not going to read that. So just to give some background before we get into the youth aspect, of the conversation, this is the most dangerous part of our work, aside from community patrols or incident de-escalation at like scenes, or if something is happening in the community. These are very high risk situations, which is why it's very particular about who is able to go on these calls or to these incidents. Um, a lot of times, and Shakila, I've shared this several times, and I want you to speak on it because I brought this up at least twice. The situation that happened what was it, like last week or the week before, where you asked me to inbox you and I missed it. And the next day, that story came out that the young lady who was asking to be taken out of a DV situation ended up killing the guy.
Right now, you want me to elaborate on it right now?
Yeah, just touch on that real quick, because that's an example of, one, the importance of this work, and the important it really calls to affect that that individual didn't call the police, or any of these other programs. They contacted you. In turn, they contacted ComForce, and that would have been, the difference in when those situations don't get responded to, even by us. You know what I mean? Um, what the
Yeah.
outcome, what the difference in outcome could be.
Yeah, one of her family members had reached out to me, and she was just giving me a little background in history that there was a lot of fighting and stuff going on, and that she wanted to leave. In the process of me inboxing you and waiting on you to contact me back, they called me back and they explained to me that I guess they used to going through this and that she had changed her mind. And later on that night, I guess him and her got into it. I really don't know the background of the story, but I know that she ended up killing him that night. Charges haven't been filed yet as of what I know of, but they might still file charges against her, or they might not, because it is a DD history, to my understanding. How true that is, I don't know, because like I said, I was contacted by one of her family members. I never talked to her directly.
Okay, and again, the reason I point out that situation, because that situation bothered me, because when you sent me that story, I was doing a panel with All of Us or None, and Assistant DA Kent Laverne, and the specific reason, just like what you brought up, is why I brought that situation up to him as the Assistant DA, because as somebody who did reach out to say this is going on, I'm in danger, I may need to be taken out of this situation. In the case where something like that happens and somebody does get killed, maybe that could be a point of advocacy, because maybe I don't know the circumstances around what happened, but we kind of both felt like that was our fault, like we dropped the ball. But also some responsibilities to try and make sure that maybe she didn't get banked. You know what I'm saying? Because in them situations, that's kind of a tough one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can say that that she did. She most definitely did. So that's the way I was looking at it too. But I was, like I said, I've been following it closely, and I still haven't seen no charges filed as of yet. So I don't know what's going on with it. But whenever she do touch down or they let her out or whatever the case may be, I am gonna reach out to her because she don't need help behind that. Not only physical help, but mental counseling as well, because that's a tough situation to be put in.
Yeah, and this is why we also have sort of loose partnerships or like relationships with groups like OVP 414 Life. Reggie Moore is the director of Office of Violence Prevention, and through the health department, they have free resources as far as mental health. Having somebody people can talk to, a bunch of different things. So it's also important to have somebody who can talk to people in those aspects when something like that happens. But then also Bushra is somebody who's gone on many calls with me, like direct action in the middle of these situations. And Bushra, I want you to kind of touch on the incident where the guy was waiting, had taken the girl's gun and pistol whipped her and was waiting in the hallway for her, and we had to show up and deal with that and sort of kind of do that with MPD. You know what I'm saying? Like describe that situation and like the whatever your recollection is about that incident.
It was a scary situation due to the fact that MPD, I told them that I saw him on the side of the house, and they took forever. When me and the officer went to search the garage underneath, we couldn't find him anywhere. But come to find out that he was hiding with the people that lived downstairs. But it was a scary situation to the fact that me and the officers were in the dark in the basement, looking through back of cars and garbage cans, trying to find them. So that situation right there was an eye opener, seeing as though I can still carry as well, that nobody is safe. She couldn't even go back to her house because he had destroyed the whole house. He had taken her daughter. It's just a lot from that situation.
And even because you do open and concealed carry, just the fact that the police had to clear the building to get up to her apartment, and they had to clear her apartment. You assisted in even doing that, and the fact that it was kind of like strange to see them show up to a situation where you were armed. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't react to you in a negative way in that situation. And I remember those two officers like really being very respectful and not, you know what I'm saying? They wasn't um it didn't go how I expected it to. They were very helpful, and it was almost like they were assisting us in that situation.
Yeah, because normally they'll say we got it, but he looked at me and said, "You got my 6. If you got my 6, I got yours." And I told him, "Yeah, I got your 6." So we basically had each other backs in that garage because we were going in blind together.
Yeah, so I always like to share different things like that because that's not typical. You know what I'm saying? And I just want people to know the possibilities of, in the moments when somebody is literally we there. This lady has to go get her stuff out the house. He's armed. It's two of us, it's two cops in a whole apartment building. We don't know where this person is. And we at that time had to be like, hey, we all gotta, you know what I'm saying, kind of watch out and make sure that we all leave up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a very different situation, but it shows the possibilities of what can happen. And we ain't gotta be friends, we ain't gotta be buddies, none of that. It's just this needs to be done. We gonna do it and get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Um, but situations like that lead into, where we do the tactical extraction, which leads into the safe house situation. The reason why I'm bringing these two things up because these are two things that need to continue to happen. They need more people to be involved. We need more people to be trained, and we need the space to house people in these situations. You know what I'm saying? I was saying yesterday on that call with OVP and them that, we all know everybody's not going to go to Sojourner. Everybody's not going to go to a shelter. Everybody's not going to call 211 or be able to get service from 211. They can't help everybody either. And so it's important to advocate and to spread, the resources around to where people can do these type of things that are helping a lot of people, but we don't get the support or the backing, um, and that limits our ability to be able to do a lot of things. Um, Lexi, I know you said your focus is youth, but mental health, there's differences between that and youth and adults, but skills like that, you know what I'm saying? Being able to deal with people experiencing trauma in the moment, because she was petrified to go to that house, but she had to. You know what I'm saying? And having somebody, again, I'm a male. Most of these calls that we deal with are dealing with females and children. I can only do so much in those aspects. So having somebody like Bushra who can, you know what I'm saying, relate more or carry over more as a woman, you know, woman to woman, those things are very important too, to have that balance out there as well. So you know, just talk a little bit about what you, like you said, your skill set is, and what you think about how that could fit, or what you see as far as even the two different scenarios that I just talked about now.
So I think one of the things to keep in mind too in any of this like programming type stuff, especially when it comes to trauma, is that we know that peer support or just people connecting with people with lived experience is really impactful. So when you are going to like a DV situation or someone that experiencing trauma, mental health, having that person with lived experience is significantly better and getting that person connected rather than, let's say, like a therapist or law enforcement who sometimes come to those calls. So I think that's really important in this whole mix. And then specifically too, like when we're talking about mental health, right? Like that's such a general topic, but something like domestic violence, something like sex trafficking, yes, that does impact mental health, but I think having specialized training in those specific realms is even that much more important, because there's certain things that you're going to need to know. You're going to, the culture, the jargon and all those types of things in order to support someone's mental health in those specific topics. So I think that's another important thing. When it comes to youth specifically, I think there's so many ways that you could cover mental health and what it all comes down to. First of all, what I've noticed is that a lot of young people don't realize like the difference, but what is mental health, right? They always think it's like this really profound diagnosis and stuff like that. But really what mental health is talking about your feelings, your emotions. And I've noticed, you know, growing up in a brown community, growing up with a very diverse, just having a diverse experience, that we don't talk about these things. So even when you do get into a DV situation, or you do get into sex trafficking, or even something just kind of like your daily needs, young people don't know how to communicate what's going on. They don't know how to use that type of language to say, today I'm hurting because this man tried to do this to me and it's impacted me in this way. So just, you know, language is a really big way, just expressing yourself. And then also too, the other part of it that what I also keep noticing is that whether it has to do with like racial issues, whether it has to do with the youth that are stealing cars or the robberies that are happening, the common thing I continue to see is the lack of self-esteem or the lack of self-worth that these young people have in themselves. So when you don't have any self-worth, when you don't have purpose, when you don't have drive, it's easier to go steal that car. It's easier to go get that quick money. And so building our young people with, you know, positive affirmations and self-esteem, building all of that up is mental health in itself, because then they want to reinvest in themselves, but then also now get back to the community. So that's kind of my 2 cents in it. There's like the educational part of it, but then there's also just the investment in self as well.
I appreciate that input. Let me see. Farina, while we on this topic and discussion, one of the things that I also brought up in the discussion with Office of Violence Prevention and all those folks from the live stream yesterday was the importance of how, like, all these factors that we see, especially that have risen with COVID, is, you know, the rise in violence in pretty much everywhere that has the same issues that Milwaukee has, is not accidental. Again, even on that call, you had somebody from the health department, and they, for the first time I've ever heard them admit, you know, that that COVID had a negative impact on the community and on the level of violence. But in particular, the factors of why people do it. You know what I'm saying? They're showing the numbers that this stuff like relationships, what parents with children, why those incidents have risen since people aren't going to school, since people are out of work. When people are dealing with trauma, and typically when you got the kids going out to school, the parents going out to work, or that separation is almost like a temporary break. You know what I mean? But when everybody's stuck in the house together and you're running out of food faster, you're frustrated, you don't know if you're getting evicted. Like, I mean, people are already taking time bombs walking around the city, you know what I'm saying, just off the traumas alone of what they've experienced. But then you add those additional factors, and it's even easier for people to lose their mind, lose their temper. Those are factors that people ignore. But the fact that that some of these programs are not existing, or people don't have access to them. When people don't have access to food or general supplies that they need at home, there's going to be a rise in violence. There's no way around that. There's going to be. And I bring that up because that's what you are doing with Dream Team with, like we did the 7-day program at Sherman Park, or the pantry program, Sequana, all these people that you've put together are giving people, I like to refer to it as we are holding people over. You know what I mean? By helping give them something that they need, access to food, access to these items that they need. Otherwise, some of them will be stealing, or some of them will be selling drugs to get it, or some of them will be, robbing somebody to get the money to go get it, doing things that they would otherwise not do because they need this stuff and they don't know how else to get it. You know what I mean? And that's the easiest, way in their mind of access. So let's talk about, the work you're doing with Dream Team with providing these supplies and this food and all this different stuff that y'all were doing twice a month. It was too much for me. I was like, hey, every week it's like we throwing a whole big 3,000-pound giveaway. This is too much. We need to slow down. But just talk about, your experience in doing that, why you're doing it, why you continue to do it, and the impact you think it has.
All right. So the Dream Team actually started as just a group of people who uh, was able to pull together because there was a need before the COVID for different things like food. To me, I think when you are able to feed people, when you are consistent doing those things with people, it brings a kind of um, like they see that you're consistent in it. And so we've been doing it almost a year now. And so what we do is we provide food. And for me, I used to be one of those people. And so I see myself in a lot of them. And so I decided, I was like, okay, y'all, we're not going to take down any names. We're not going to ask for ID. We're not going to ask for anything, because I realized that sometimes it takes everything that a person has inside of them to even come and get the food from us. And then when they come, it's like, they feel even more embarrassed because now you're asking for names. We have had, it's more than just food, because we also are able to help people. I'll share a story where where we do a Thanksgiving feast on 35th and Center. This was like the third year, and so we get a tent and we're outside and we have a caterer. She prepares some food. This year we had Robert Bear, who partnered with us. We gave away coats and hats, and then we gave away food. And I would never forget, because every year something happens at these events. And there was a young man, maybe about 7 or 8 years old, and there was a shooting on 36th Center where someone got killed. And it just so happened that him and his mother were in the car. So they were caught in the crossfire, and she covered his body. Of course, she was okay physically. Well, what happened was the little boy seen Vine and Gab doing the s'mores. And because of that the little boy hadn't been outside or anything. He wanted to come and have some s'mores. And so when he came, you know, we just came together and we began to talk to this little boy, pray with this little boy, and I think it made a difference. So what we do at the Dream Team Unite MKE is not only just feed the people, but we also are able to help people. There have been many people who come who tell us, I don't have anywhere to go, or I'm in a domestic violence relationship, or, you know, they just need help. So not only do we help them with food, but we also help them with other resources that are available to them. And if they don't know, like shout out to Vaughn and Saquana Taylor, because you know they have access to many resources. And so we really set them up with them, and then you know they are able to get more resources. But the whole goal is really to just, and we go all over Milwaukee. We don't do it in one area, and the purpose for that is because we know that it's a need all over Milwaukee, and not just for food, but to know that there's somebody that cares somewhere where you can go, and people not going to ask you your name. People are not going to ask you to show no ID. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is come and want it. Sometimes we're able to. We just gave away Pampers last week, Pampers and household cleaning items, toilet paper. You know, we try to provide some of the resources that we know people need because we know what we need. So, and we're not like we don't get grants or anything. Like we don't get federal money. What we do is we pool our money together in the Dream Team group, and we raise money, and we go, we got buy groceries, and what we give, we just give it out because we feel that we don't want nobody. We want nobody to, you know, go without nothing. And then during the month, I have little access to a little food. So when people ask, I try to get them a food thing together. And there's a lady, another lady that I connect with, and I'll call her. And so we'll put food together for families because we know that is a big factor. Food is if you're hungry, you're gonna do things that you normally wouldn't do to survive.
Farina, one of the things that you, like, as you were talking, I just thought of is that in that moment, you probably gave that little boy so much hope just by being out there. And that little boy probably had no hope for days or weeks. And so that's another thing that because of that, now he can feel that internally, he can feel that self-love, and that ripple effect really impacts his mental health in a positive way.
Yeah, and I know it did. We've dealt with other people too. Like we had one lady come to us at one of our pop-ups, and she had moved here um, because her sister was killed, and she had a kid, and so she moved here to take care of the kid. She didn't have a job because she had quit her job where she was to come help her with the baby, and her unemployment hadn't started or anything. So you know, we were able to talk to her and just kind of console her. I don't know if she ever found a job, but you know, we were able to try to help her.
You're on mute, Vaughn.
Oh, thank you. For those who may just be joining and may not be aware of who, like, what ComForce is as a platform and what all we do, um, I just want to show this graphic real quick to show all the stuff that we cover. Um, so, incident de-escalation, burial assistance. I've talked about the tactical extraction team, suicide prevention, violence prevention and interruption, community cleanups, youth stipend fund opportunities, homelessness and emergency shelter. We have a missing persons network that is very essential. We actually need so of course we all look through social media and we see these random posts from people who say my child is missing. We already know what it is when it comes to trying to file missing persons reports if you are a person of color in the city. Um, and we know what it is when our young people either disappear, run away, whatever the case may be. It is very difficult for parents or for family members to report them missing or to get adequate Amber Alerts or whatever when it comes to our community and our young people and just in general. So we created our own network where people can post it themselves. We share it so that information is centralized and we update it as people are found. Um, so that is very essential work as well. I know Tori Lowe has been doing that for a number of years. But the reason why I separated it and made it its own thing is because the same reason for my page, we post so much stuff on there. So if you're going on there to specifically look for missing persons, you will have to do a lot of scrolling to find those particular things. So we want to centralize all the information into one place so people know where to go and where to look for it. We have meal programs and pantry, eviction prevention. That is one of we'll get to that. Free services for elderly, disabled, pregnant individuals, such as lawn care, snow removal, etc. Bridges to employment, and transportation services. So that could mean a lot of different things. That could those things could be given in a lot of different ways. Again, for folks who follow my page in particular, you would know that for all of that stuff I just named, and that's not even including our annual community events, that's not including program the parks, as you know, and these and a lot of other different initiatives and programs, that's not including all the stuff that we have to raise dollars for those things. Every dollar that we get, unless it's specific for a specific event, it all goes to any of those different things, whatever is happening at the time. um it is literally almost, we almost have our own version of 211, honestly. And we are like a on call type of platform. Um and speaking of that, I see my guy P just hopped on. Shout out to TPR. Shout out to P as a leader and as a person, as a somebody who stepped up and wanted to become part of the change in the city. You know what I'm saying? We just had a thing yesterday for people who didn't get to see it. P, if you want to come on and talk about that experience and how that was for you. But I also, as a new person onto the squad, you kind of got a taste of what it is that we do. You know what I'm saying? He reached out to me because he said, like, well, this is what you do. No, you part of the squad, you part of the team. This is what we do now. You know what I'm saying? So just give a little bit about what you've seen so far in ComForce, what you would like to see, what you expect, and a little bit about the situation that happened yesterday.
Honestly, I first and foremost, I commend y'all on y'all swiftness. Y'all got that done and taken care of in no time. And I was kind of tooting y'all horn before Vaughn even showed up. And I was like, this brother gonna take care of you. And by the time he got there, y'all had already had the situation damn near under control. But I had stopped at Walgreens on Fond du Lac and Hampton yesterday. And it honestly, it was for no reason. We were literally just trying to get directions. And I heard the guy singing. He was sitting on the ground singing. And like I said, he wasn't asking for anything or anything like that. He wasn't asking for change. He was just singing. So I recorded him and I was listening to him singing. Then I started talking to him for a second. And I asked him if he was looking for some help. And I reached out to Vaughn right away because, like I said, again, that's what Vaughn do. And like I said, Vaughn showed up and did what ComForce does. It was dope. It was dope to be a part of that, honestly and truly. Like, I'm a person that believes that everything happens for a reason. I don't know why we stopped there. And initially I had told my friend, like, why did we stop here? We were just good where we were. But the reason why we stopped there was for me to meet him and for me to see what it is that y'all do for real, or what we do. Let me rephrase that. What we do up close and personal. That was dope. The same thing with like Mama Farina during one of the food drives she did. This was a couple of months back. One of the first times I ever helped her with one of her food drives. To be there and to see the work that people in this community have been doing for a long time and to experience that and to be a part of that is dope. That's the reason why I come out, and that's the reason why I do what I do, because I believe that, like, it's going to take all of us to change our circumstances. It's going to take all of us to make the world around us better. We can't keep walking past people and ignoring them. So like I said again, that's my little spiel.
Hey, facts, man. And like I said, man, we looking to build the team. This is a no nonsense group. We get to work. You know what I'm saying? We do some talking, but we do a whole lot more moving and doing things, and that's what I love about what we have created. You know what I'm saying? The people that you see here ain't a fraction of what ComForce is. You know what I'm saying? Even though y'all may see me, y'all may see my page, y'all may see the post or me on live, you can tell right now it's about maybe 8 people on here. um Again, this ain't even a fraction of the folks that we have as part of our network. Farina mentioned Sequana. There are a number of elected officials who are part of ComForce, and the same way we as residents are stepping up, and we have to do our part, the same way our elected officials have to be a part of that too. Because at the end of the day, we're doing work in their districts. We're helping people, their constituents, and so they should be a part of that process. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I don't know who had this conversation or brought it up recently, but people think activism is like an easy thing to wake up and start doing. Farina, you can speak to how difficult it was for you, to start even trying to get out and do events or do things in the community without really being like having a lot of resistance or barriers to keep you really from doing it. You know what I'm saying? Unless got a lot of money, or you know it's just not easy as people think it is. You know what I mean? And I want people to understand that, and that is why we've developed these type of platforms, so somebody who you know don't have to go through those barriers or go through those things, and waste a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? You have done a lot. I mean, Dream Team started in like 2000 and like 17, 18.
I think we started, well, to actually start as a team before we came to Dream Team. It was, I want to say, 2016 when Amani Robinson was shot and killed, and I went to Vine, and I went to Tracy Dent and all the organizers that I knew, and I said, "Listen, y'all, I want to do something. Like, we got to do something about this." And so that's when it all started. And so each year it's just been more bigger, and then probably like last year is when we actually started with the name the Dream Team Unite MKE,
Okay.
because yes, it's a team of people that come together from all over Milwaukee, officials, organizers, people in the community who just feel like, you know what, I always wanted to do something, but I didn't know where to start. Can I be a part? Yes, you can. So, and yes, it's it was a blessing that I had the help that I needed in the beginning, because it's a lot of people who are trying to do things and they don't know who to reach out to, so they don't know. So, I was really blessed in that sense, because I already knew some of you guys.
Um, and so from there, what I want to do is get into this plan that we've been kind of discussing, because the same as last year, honestly, the same is when you kind of like when we kind of started that work, and you mentioned Amani. Amani was a young man who was part of our program at Sherman, who was shot and killed by a stray bullet in a shootout. You know what I mean? A situation he had nothing to do with. He just happened to be wrong place, wrong time. Um, and that's what launched your work. And now we are at another time in our community where right now we see our young people out of school, a lot of parents out of work, and we see an uptick of people getting involved in things that um, you know idle time gets you involved in. You know what I mean? Um, when you talk about stolen cars, when you talk about robberies, when you talk about all this different stuff you see in the news, um, a lot of people are asking, what are we going to do about that? There's been some discussion for the past few years around closing Lincoln Hills, getting rid of these youth facilities, bringing our young people back closer to home. But there's not a viable working plan right now. But in the meantime, stuff is still happening. Our young people are still getting in trouble, still getting into things. And from Program to Parks perspective, we will be out there if not for COVID in the parks with a damn near 7-day program, giving them something to do. And even we've even had to really think about how can we bring back Program to Parks this year, even if it has to be in a limited capacity or if it has to be at the same capacity, because at the end of the day, young people are still in these parks. Young people are still out in the community. So I know we want to follow the COVID guidelines, but I think not having those programs, not having those resources out there, which worked in those spaces, is can add to a lot of stuff that wouldn't otherwise be happening or that we can get a handle on. So as an internal committee of people with different opinions, platforms, resources, skill sets, we had a conversation about I always say this, and again, terminology, even in this plan, if you see a word that may trigger you, you know what I mean? Because I even called it the community corrective college. And somebody said, well, corrective sounds like it's a negative connotation word. It's a triggering word. But we don't have to use that word. When I first came up with this idea years ago, I've said it in the sense where we need a black boarding school. Boarding school is a negative connotation word. That's somewhere people sent their children when they were too bad or they didn't want them or whatever the case may be. But in all honesty, looking at how our own community is talking about our youth, that's kind of the same attitude that people have right now and have had, which was why we created Program to Parks. And what we want to do is the same thing we did in 2016 when we said, when everybody else was like, forget them kids, they lost cause. We said, no, they not. You know what I'm saying? And we stepped in and did that. And I believe there are a number of people who have the skill set to deal with our people and our young people. We need our own space and we need an opportunity to, uh, save them, you know what I mean? Or help them save themselves in an aspect by offering a lot of the things that they don't have. We all know that violence, that crime has root issues, root causes. This is why certain communities you won't see crime because people have the things that they need. You know what I'm saying? They may engage in crime, extracurricular things or whatever, just being mischievous, but you got a huge element of people who are out in survival mode, doing things that have become normalized for survival. It's not because it's fun and somebody came out the womb wanting to be that way. You know what I mean? And so I want to go over this and then we can kind of discuss it because I want to present this to people and to the community to get their input on it. But again, while these things are happening and while people are having conversations about this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, we are coming up with solutions. And some of this stuff, some of these programs have been in existence, still are going on. The only reason why this ain't going on is because we don't have the capacity, the finances, or the space to do it. If we had those things, this would be going on right now. You know what I'm saying? And we wouldn't be having some of the discussions about rises in violence, all these GoFundMe's, people dying unnecessarily, things of that nature, because a lot of this stuff has been proven to work. So it's at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna try to fly through this, and we can have our final discussion. And if y'all can engage with the people, like share this in different groups, share this in different people inbox, tag people, because I want people's input on this. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a real thing. I want this something. Something needs to happen. And when I write a plan, it's not just this is Vaughn plan, Vaughn gonna do it, ComForce gonna do it. This is like a plan that I'm thinking. Victor Barnett, who's dealt with young people in trouble, Andre Lee Ellis, all these different little programs that have worked with the element of young people that we have. Young people who can't fit or don't go to some of these other programs that get a lot of funding and get a lot of praise for working with young people. This is a different level of young person that we're talking about who needs a lot more attention, who needs a lot more one-on-one, who needs a lot more pouring into, you know what I mean? So
And I think it's Vaughn, if you don't mind me interrupting, I think it's important to note too that your relationships and rapport that you've built, like you and Gabby have built with young people, you guys hear their voices, you hear what they want, what they need in the community, what they think they're going to thrive on. And that's why you're able to come back and now have this kind of a program, because their voices are spoken within this. And I think that's unique to a lot of the programs, because as adults, we try to tell them, I think you need this, this, and this, where you guys can bring these young people and allow them to have voices, which is engaging them in the process. And therefore you're going to have a better success.
Absolutely. P, she got your hand raised.
Any one of these programs is the Dream Team or is ComForce, or any of these LLC or 501(c) programs?
Program the Parks is a nonprofit organization, and just this past year, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, ComForce has become an LLC. However, I have not engaged the LLC part of ComForce. Right now, we're still just operating as an initiative that of a free committee.
Grassroots. I got you. Grassroots program right now. I got
because at the end of the day, what I want people to understand, everybody that's on this call, on this Zoom right now, is adding a very vital level when they talk about crime prevention, when they talk about changing people's situations. Y'all have played a huge role in a lot of that. Those numbers could be, even for how high they were last year, those numbers can be even astronomically higher if not for some of the work that has gone on in this group. You know what I'm saying? And we don't always get to get on the news and say, yeah, we did it. We the reason why we stopped this, we stopped that. But it's true, and that's why it is vital that we continue being that, whether seen or unseen factor, to help, save some lives, save some, take some people off a path to maybe jail or death, as we have. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's, again, unseen or seen or unseen. Gab.
Yeah, maybe I should have messaged Shantia first. I raised my hand so that in case y'all didn't see the NPS question, and that see if you or Shantia wanted to address the question of, can ComForce help getting the kids back in school? And just to add to that question, I want to know what people think, people watching and people on this panel, what people think about our children not being in school this long and the issues that's been going on with NPS and the virtual schooling. If y'all don't know, maybe Shantia or Yvonne can like kind of fill people in on what's been going on with that. And I know there has been some concern about the suburban schools being open for those kids and for our NPS students not being in school, and the issue that would be around that, as far as them being behind in education. But I'll just say this, we've been going this long and it's been an issue with them being virtual. And even before virtual, there was an issue already with NPS schooling and the education that they were getting, as opposed to suburban schools. So it's a whole new wrench been thrown in that with COVID that is just, I really don't think that us putting the kids back in school so late in the year, and there's been issues going on virtually and inside of the school, is just so much wrapped around that. I don't want to speak on it. That's not really, my opinion, versus somebody who is a teacher and is in a union, and somebody like you who follows and keeps up and talks to people that's on the board and stuff like that. I really just want one of y'all to kind of chime in on that.
Okay. We have an agenda, and the NPS stuff is the last on the agenda. That's why I'm trying to fly through this now.
Okay, my bad.
Shantia is going to present all of that updated information after this part of it, because that stuff came within the last day or so. And so it was just lastly added to the agenda. So any MPS questions, and we kind of already touched on that because the young people are not in school, that is a huge element to adding to why they are so much more involved and out there doing a lot of this stuff. So we have kind of addressed that a little bit, but we will get to the MPS stuff after we get to this. Pete, did you want to say something else?
I did. This was
Okay.
just a little side note. Could you, when we done with this, put in the group chat a list of all the things that ComForce do? And then I want to kind of suggest that you start with all of the members that you have in ComForce. You start kind of compartmentalizing some of that work.
Mhm.
So people are focused on like specific issues. So people aren't trying to tackle 17 issues collectively. Like 17 different people are tackling one issue and they get more done in that one area. But I wanted a list of the things that you had. And then I want to suggest that the next time that you have a meeting with ComForce, you bring the rest of the members in, even if they like not boots on the ground members, they're more behind the scene members. So you can start delegating some of those duties to some of these cats so you can run more effective. The reason why I asked the question about whether these organizations were LLC'd or not is because there is a lot of grant money out here. And I know you know this already. And there are a lot of people willing to donate to organizations on the street that are doing the work. But those folks want those tax write-offs. And those tax write-offs only comes to organizations that are LLC or that are 501(c)(3) if they can get that money back during tax season. You hear me? That's the reason why I asked that question. Not to be in anybody's financial business or anything.
So a number of things. So that's kind of how we have ComForce set up. This is why I'm trying to do some recruiting of people of action, because most of the people in ComForce, aside from the folks you see here now, such as Shantia. Shantia deals with school. You know, she's the educator. Farina does the community events portion. You know what I'm saying? That's the Dream Team is kind of like the branch of community outreach, events, giveaways, that stuff that we used to do directly ourselves additionally, but now she's created a group, and all of those different things have chats. The TXT and the Safe House work has its own chat. So these are different things that we need more people to do the action part of it. The other people are mainly support. They give input. They may be investors or funders, or you know what I'm saying, people like elected officials. So they're not. We do need more boots on the ground, direct action people. At the end of the day, that's kind of what we need, and this is why you see very few of us that are going to stuff and actually doing stuff. Just how it pans out, unfortunately. But this is why we're presenting this stuff to the community, to let them know this stuff is being done. We could do a whole lot more if we had, you know what I'm saying, some people who it was their lane to get out here and actually do the work. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we're trying to build. Gabby wanted to say something else.
You reading my mind. I didn't raise my hand or nothing, but I did want to speak to
Yes,
that.
yes, you did.
No, you just never unraised it. But yeah, to anybody that's watching that feel like they want to get out here and do something, but they don't know what, or if you know somebody who always talk about, that's always posting about issues and they posting, and you clearly see they upset and they want to do something but don't know what, you can direct them this way, because that is how I got started. I won't go too long into that, but I'll just say, that me and Vaughn were friends. I knew he was my activist friend. And, even though he's a, human being that live in the same hood and grew up in the same, city as me, I still did not see myself being able to do anything about the issues. I just saw myself being affected. So sometimes it does take for you to know someone, or for people who are getting money in our organizations and are benefiting off of what's going on, but not pulling people in and not really getting the stuff done. And it's still more and more happening. And, it's just like, you don't have to have a title or organization or a scholarship, or you an expert. We are experts and we know what to do because we've lived through it and been through it. So it just took for me to know someone who had the passion and the will and knew that they could be effective, for me to get out here and be as effective as I have been. And then we just pass the torch, and we just, each one teach one. So that's just what I wanted to throw in real quick. I didn't raise my hand though. But yeah, anybody on here, if you could share this, or at least share this information, if you may know someone who's good with kids and they sick of their daycare job, and they just, because we don't need any more people getting money and being in these director and leader positions that work with children or work in any field, and they like do not like their job. They don't like people, they don't like kids. And I don't want to throw any organization under the bus. I would, but this ain't that type of meeting. It's about solutions. So I'll just say there are people who work, and I know y'all have heard Vaughn say this numerous of times, and I've been there to witness it. I've been through it. It has upset me. It has made me be out of character in places where I should be professional. It's just very sad to see how you have all these people in organizations who are supposed to be change makers and have the solutions, and they really do not like the population that they serve. So if you have an interest in doing community work and community service and getting out here, and like Vaughn just said to P, I won't repeat, but it's for all of us. It's our problems, and we have to be the ones to make the solutions. And it's not as hard as you think. And you don't need, any type of special credentials, or, to know somebody or anything like that. Just send them over this way, and we can put people in their lanes, and, we can get more stuff done.
Thank you for that. I want to respond to Demia Causey's comment, and this is something that I kind of struggle with a lot. I don't understand why we don't understand each other or what we're looking at when we see the stuff that's going on in our community. I keep going back to what Lexi talks about mental health, and we was just having this conversation about what mental health looks like. Mental health when it comes to trauma, because I'll just I ain't gonna read her comment. I'm going to reiterate some of the things that she said. She said that there's a lack of moral compass, and there's a lack of accountability. And she also said use the term entitlement culture, specifically people going out buying stuff that they know they can't afford when they know they have bills, things of that nature. That's mental health. The stuff that she's talking about is all mental health. I do it. All of us have do it. This is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard is Kanye West, All Falls Down, because it literally explains the condition of Black people and why we do what we do. We are the lowest of the low when it comes to all these negatives that it has to do that people want to talk about, the 53206, education, welfare. We are the poster child for everything negative. So you know what we do to not be that, to wear that badge? We go out of our way to prove that we are not that. So we're going to go and buy, we're supposed to be poor, but we're going to go and buy stuff that makes us not look poor as we are, that we know we poor. So, but we're going to spend money on stuff unnecessary to prove not just to other people, but to ourselves in our mind that we ain't what people portray us as or see us as. I've done it a million times. I know other people who do it. And when you see that, you know what it is. You know what it is. To not understand that is part of the issue that we have in our community, because Black people should be able to look at Black people and say, I get it. The scariest thing is when Black people look at Black people and don't get Black people. You know what I mean? That is the scariest thing to have, because we cannot lose touch with ours. We cannot lose total touch with ourselves. Again, we have to understand what it is that we're seeing. We have to understand mental health. I think somebody was just saying, oh, I think it was you, Lexi, about how in other cultures and communities, mental health ain't so taboo. You know what I'm saying? But for us, a crazy person don't think that they're crazy. You know what I mean? If you tell them they're crazy, they not. It's very few people who we call crazy or even using those terms has a certain stigma in our community. You know what I'm saying? People who, Shantia was just talking about people with who are in like special ed classes and stuff like that. It's so much that goes on in our community that we go out our way to um, self-diagnose, to self-medicate, to take us out of those things, to make us not wear those badges and those masks that we should be wearing. You know what I mean? That we should be not just wearing, but addressing and fixing. You know what I mean? Um, and
Well,
and
I'll be
again,
honest though, too, though, Vaughn, like when systems are continuously telling Black and brown communities that you guys ain't shit, like you're gonna start to think that too. And so it's really just like this mental like screw up that then we expect kids to thrive in that kind of environment. No, there's no way. So what do is they overcompensate for the lack of self-love and the confidence that they have with the things that you're talking about. So it's not even just like here in this community, it's a bigger picture. It's systems, it's government, it's America pretty much saying you aren't anything, so therefore you feel like nothing.
you
Like
know
that.
what's crazy? I'm sorry. Even looking at somebody like Trump and his son, right? What black great man that is put on a pedestal is an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, what black man do you know is glorified for being an idiot? You know what I mean? Like, we can't thrive like that. We have to go beyond and above. Again, I don't want to get political, but again, it's just things that we see. We see the difference between how Obama was treated as a president, as a black man in that position, versus other folks in that position who are not there intellectually, who don't have the same capacity of leadership. Um, but they get the utmost respect. They get every excuse. X, Y, and Z. Again, that's a difficult thing. And again, even our young people who look on social media and they see people who look like them, adults, talking terribly about them, as if, like, I remember, speaking of stealing cars. I was in some group, I think it was the whole Milwaukee, but it was just this long, like 500 comment post about how they would kill this kid if they ever saw them stealing their car, and they can't stand thieves and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, some of these same people I see y'all in here buying from boosters. They're stealing. So is stealing okay if it's clothes and stuff that you want to buy versus somebody's car? You still stealing from somebody. So why is one form of the stealing different, and you're talking about a thief while you're supporting another thief? You know what I mean? Like, even making those two things, we're doing what other people did to us. We are saying, yeah, they mean them, not me. You know what I mean? We're doing that to each other. But again, this is all a mental thing that we're going through, um, that is going unaddressed. And this is what part of what this plan, because we have to catch our young people while they're young. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be done. Um, so let's try to go through this so we can get some conversation in on that, and then we can get to Shantia with the MPS stuff. And I see my brother Sean just joined us. I don't know if you want to chime in yet, or if you want to wait until we go over this plan that we put together, and get some input on that, brother Sean. If not, if you want to wait, then I'll fly through this and then we can get you in.
I'm just here to listen, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, do not concentrate on the terms. If you hear a term that you don't like, don't worry about it. Just introduce a better term, or a term that you think is better, and we can deal about the wording later. Um, Reimagining youth restorative justice, collaborative comprehensive plan for troubled youth. Qualifications and history. This just goes through the history of what how we got here and our level of expertise on the subject. In 2016, we created Program the Parks, which assessed and addressed Sherman Park youth issues and incidents by bringing in community leaders, parents, resources, and programs to pique interest, as well as alter thoughts and behaviors in youth who prior had been left to their own devices outside of being over policed. This led to a dramatic drop in crime, violence, and police calls for service in the park and general area of Sherman Park, as well as changed a vast number of youth participation in fights, driving, riding, and stolen cars, theft, stealing, etc. We provided solutions to the issues that were causing the issues. For instance, thefts occurring at stores and businesses surrounding the park. Be, um, Thefts were occurring at stores and businesses surrounding the park because young people were not given access to meals or water for 8 to 18 hours a day in cases. Providing meals, snacks, and water brought down those thefts from those stores. Um, in 2017, we created a more in-depth indoors version of Program the Parks called It Takes a Village Community Empowerment and Solution Center, located at 606 West Concordia. For a year, we held structured programs in school form, ran as an after-school program. Youth had access to a computer lab, library, tutors, mentors, meals, trainings, and different skills such as clothing and graphic design, photography, audio engineering, music production, and more, as well as access to a game room. We offered transportation to and from the program. We took youth on outings such as Bucks and Brewers games, Sky Zone, Bounce Milwaukee. Shout out to Ryan Clancy, which were earned incentives for participation and showing drastic change in school, home, and community performance. This program was highly successful, but we were unable to sustain the space due to lack of financial investment or grant funding and access. Which brings us to 2021. We again have a growth in youth engaging in crime, violence, reckless driving, and stolen cars. As stated previously, these are not new issues, nor are the factors and circumstances to solve and impact them. There is a population of youth and families that standard programs do not and cannot reach. There are just levels to what at-risk or troubled youth look like, depending on what program and organization leading the programming is leading the work. Most programs mean A through C students who lived in challenged communities or neighborhoods. They, however, do not mean the population of students failing in school who typically get suspended or skip or drop out of school, have behavioral issues, deep-seated traumas, home dysfunction, etc. However, organizations like Running Rebels, We Got This, and Program the Parks MKE have all led the way in dealing with those populations of youth and have a visible track record of turning some of those circumstances, stories, and outcomes around. Collaborating with OVP 414 Life and other community orgs and efforts needs to happen. And frankly, it's time to bring those programs and skill sets to the forefront collaboratively to reach these young people proactively as well as reactively. This is how I believe we can achieve the goal we need to see as a city. I propose once again that we need a facility that is community driven and led. It needs to be done in the style of several already existing programs out there, as well as merged with the efforts of local mentors and leaders. This facility will be ran in a way where the youth won't be free to leave, somewhat of a glorified group home, but they will be able to earn passes, gain employment, etc. A plethora of services will be offered, as most crime still stems from a lack of something or an instability issue in housing, finances, etc. So some of the key points that we focused on is Job Corps style living dorm quarters where youth can choose one or multiple trades or skills to learn. They will earn a stipend during their stay, which will be partially accessible while they are in the program for self-care and maintenance, but the bulk of what they earn will only be accessible upon completion of their stay. They will be docked per violations or incidents, which will affect their final earning amount and will instill a sense of earning what you get, as well as accountability and behavior. Companies can buy in and offer positions to certain fields for young people as they complete different trainings and gain certifications. Healthcare, automotive skills, um, related, and maintenance, repairs, Entrepreneurship, retail, warehouse, and other skills and trades will be offered. Mental health specialist services will be offered free, as well as anger management sessions, AODA, trauma resilience services, family counseling, etc. These will be mandatory, yet on a case-by-case basis. They'll be able to get GED, HSED, some college credit education will be offered and mandatory case-by-case basis. Offering opportunities to work towards record expungements depending on the crime and the case, clearing tickets, and etc. Community service will also be mandatory, participating in community servicing events, cleanups across the city, and beautification projects, and etc. We have a person on our team who is strongly pushing STEM. STEM opportunities will be available. Me personally, I am big on activism and advocacy in a form of a more in-depth um, version of teaching civics. So activism and advocacy training will be available as means to teach and instill the impact politics have in young people's lives, as well as encourage them into considering going into political fields through teaching basics in civics and beyond, giving access to elected officials at different levels of government. When we ran Program the Parks, a number of politicians and elected officials came to the park, did work with us, including Sequana, including Senator Taylor. Um, Again, Brian Clancy opened his space up to us before he ever ran from office. Goiki, I mean, I can name plenty of them. A lot of people in our community don't even know what an alderman is, don't know who their alderman is. But when you bring that access and make that a regular thing, it exposes them to something they may want to be. If they never see one and don't know what they do, why would I want to be something that I know nothing about? You know what I mean? Um, Education and basic life skills such as banking and accounts, credit, loans, debt, etc. Mandatory participation in ComForce community first responder training, conflict resolution, CPR, CERT, and more. Aid with college credit, securing grants, scholarships, exploring furthering education opportunities. Um, Introduction courses to CNA, RN, nursing field trainings with connected employment opportunities. Introduction to fire department training, possible employment track to Milwaukee Fire Department. Also, ComForce community first responder training, possibly training to connect to internships with 414 Life or other organizations such as that. Of course, soft skills, resume, employment readiness, and dealing with an aspect of those aged out of foster care and services for them. Additional things that we talked about as possibilities. Um, I'm not sure. I'm going to cover that, but just to let you know about the additional notes, these are conversations surrounding what type of partnerships can be possible in this, to where I know Senator Taylor and a number of other people has talked about having folks go in and deal with the demo or repair of homes. You know what I'm saying? These vacant, dilapidated homes, having some type of program where folks can fix those homes up, and that could be an opportunity to train young people in doing that, or having them be involved in that process. I know a number of years back when we talked about the lead, we suggested to Sherman Park Community Association that we have young people go into these homes and install water filters, because of course our lead isn't fixed. But if folks had water filters that maybe bring some temporary fix, and if we had young people do that, that would be, a opportunity for them to learn about lead, water, and all that kind of stuff. And also different conversations about what is out there as far as facilities that this could be done out of. How can we secure this? What kind of funding can be secured? Who could be possible partners? Again, this is a ComForce model that we've done in small, I guess, in smaller versions or versions of these programs. that we are trying to bring all of this together in one place, and offer this to our young people. Um, Again, I don't know if people want to chime in on some of the stuff that you heard, some of the stuff you like, some of the stuff you don't like. What do you think is missing? And if folks will be, interested in being a part of helping further this vision and helping create that infrastructure and total finalized version of what this could be. And I'll follow rule number 1 now.
I mean, I know in the past we were talking about, Gabby and I were talking about like various groups of like self-empowerment, confidence, self-esteem, to just build up young people. What that looks like and where, I'm not sure. But I would like to do something like that.
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a second. What was the question, Vaughn?
Do you have any input or feedback from all of the stuff that we just talked about?
I stepped away. I stepped away for about 10 minutes. So I just heard Lexi say something about us talking about in the future, the very near future, setting up something as far as self-empowerment for the youth, right?
Yeah, just kind of troubleshooting some of those like groups that we were thinking about doing, like what that could look like. What are your thoughts on some of that? Like, what do you envision doing?
She doesn't know.
Well,
She missed 10 minutes of a conversation.
What you say, P?
I said Gabby doesn't know because she missed 10 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Fine. But yeah, so I envision it to look like what we had already had been doing and started to do, but could not complete on our own because, we are who we are, so there are like the studio program, like there was a youth journalism program, there was like so many different programs that we are not experts in, but I feel like us getting our kids active in things that they are interested in or things that they think that they want to do or like to do, get them active in the community and stuff like that. That is a form of self-empowerment and self-esteem and self-love in itself. So if we like P said, the things that we already have in play, like if Vaughn posts those for all of us on the panel and people that are watching and just the community period, we could figure out how, for one, an issue is funding. And another thing is also people whose lane it is, like photojournalism, stuff like that. Anybody who is an expert who has time and who can donate any time to teaching these kids some of these things that they might be interested in, that in itself is one of the things that I would like to start with as a part of a self-empowerment series.
I think somebody mentioned too, like doing a financial class or something like for young people, since that's not really taught in high school.
So one of the things one of the things that and some of this stuff, if you can't tell, I grew up in group homes, so some of the structure I'm taking from those experiences. But again, even in the group homes that I did grow up in, it was, I mean, like Gab mentioned, there are so many people who are running things. I don't understand why people own or operate things dealing with youth, and it's almost like they hate youth, or they have a real dislike for them, or they really are indifferent. They really don't care, but they run and own these things. And so something that could be very helpful, for me, I had a very rough home life. So a group home had a level of structure. I didn't really need much more than that. I mean, you're supposed to just pretty much be a roof over my head that I can come back to at nighttime and offer me some sort of structure. I got to clean up, my room, and different stuff like that. But you had so much negative stuff going on to where staff members were like, I don't want to say picking, but it was just too much extra stuff going on to where that experience ran a lot of young people out of the facility, and they just continue getting in trouble because they kept leaving these facilities because the facility didn't fit what they needed. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that I wanted to do, because even in the group home, we earned they called it allowance at the end of every week. But again, like you said, we know we don't get taught about taxes. We don't get taught about bank accounts. We don't get taught about credit. We want to offer this stuff to our young people. We want to help them start a bank account. We want to help them start a savings account. We want to help them not only earn that allowance or stipend, but also put money, have them save money, you know what I mean, in that process, to where when they leave, when they get through the program, they are leaving with something, you know what I mean? So yeah, financial literacy. We already know some of us, our credit be messed up before we even get 18 because of situations we all know that can happen. But we want to give our young people opportunity, to have a different start, you know what I'm saying, before they turn 18, and to give them some insight and access to some things that can expose them to opportunity that they don't know that they have. So when you don't know that you have access to all this stuff, or this stuff is possible, and the stuff that you do have is like, damn if I do, damn if I don't, you kind of again go through life like that, like you really have no options, you know what I mean? So we want to address some of those things through our lived experience. I was a young person who was homeless. I was a young person who stole cars, who operated in robberies and stuff like that, to take care of as a survival tool, not because it was fun and I wanted to do it. So I know that element is there. I know that there's a reason most times when somebody is doing something like that, that there's a reason or a root issue to why you even got to doing that, or why you're engaging in it, for most people.
Yeah, and as I was saying, like that is, and Vaughn said it earlier, like that is how we even got to adding on to just the original program of just feeding the kids and bringing the speaker, and making sure they're not fighting in the park. So once you actually build a relationship, or even if you just listen, and even if you just understand what you're looking at, then you'll see what's needed, and then you'll just try to fill those needs in as best as you can. So when we were at the 606 building doing ITAV Solution Center, like we had so many programs, like I can't even think of all of them, because we were just trying to throw stuff in there, and we was just doing what we knew. We had some people coming out, that really didn't have the time to, but their heart was there. They wanted to, help us build this program to what it needed to be, because they understood that, how important that was, even though, the capacity to the fund and to, our knowledge of it was not really there. So back to what Lexi's saying, like we can add on, we can, since we have this team that we have now and we are steady growing, we can go over the programs that we do already have, that we have templates for, that we actually have started, that we can get back into that this year. And also, I must have told you about the youth at All of Us or None. The one youth, his name is Chris, that he's doing this this youth empowerment series, where he is addressing, it's like a six class 2-month thing. And it's for people ages 16 to 25. And he has asked me to add, get the youth and get anybody, that needs it, which is a lot of us need it, whether you want to do it or not, a lot of us need it. So everything that Vaughn just said about, us lacking the knowledge of credit and financial stability and understanding this and that, like that's something that he is going to put into his program, which I'll go over more of that later. But for another part of it, I will be adding people who are doing community service, because that's another thing that we had going on in our have going on in our program, but we don't have the funds. So anybody who needs community service hours, anybody who has a PO, you need to do some community work, and that's also a good way to funnel people into productivity, a more positive life, and getting them into advocacy and activism, and also seeing themselves in a different light and understanding their power and empowering them. Oh, and I brought that up to say the youth empowerment series too. He'll be doing that in March. So when I have more details, once that's actually finalized, I'll be sharing it with ComForce. And we want to try to get as many youth and people. It's 16 to 25, but really anybody. But the target is that age group. You know, the age group that me and Vaughn had started out. You know, typically working with.
I'll chime in now, I guess. Just to touch on to like other things that I would like to see added to the program, which is really why I created the whole Parents Unite MKE, is that I want to see accountability in our community. And I need to see it being taken by everybody. We all, to some degree, play a part into why society is the way it is right now. Whether you overlook somebody doing some bugs and was like, oh, that ain't none of my business, or you know, you had a bad childhood and you ended up carrying on those generational curses. Our kids don't really know what normal is no more. And so my thing is to show them, like, nobody can really say what's normal, what's not normal, but to show them what's more appropriate. Let's stop saying normal. Let's focus on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I have, and like you said, building relationships with these kids are extremely key. I cannot tell you guys how easy it makes my job by having a good rapport with my students, because I'm very transparent with them. And they need to see that. They don't need to be taught what to do, what to think, and how to think. They need to be shown, not taught what to do, but shown how to, you know what I'm saying? They don't need nobody constantly preaching them. That's not how we're going to reach them. This is a different breed of kids. And I think the problem is that some of our old school cats are still stuck in their ways, and they're not realizing that they have to now meet these children where they're at. So that does mean that you have to do things outside of the norm. So I like what we're doing. I'm all for it. I'm definitely pushing for the educational piece. Something that I would like to see added to is because we need more quality educators. And that's just me being honest. Let's start a program where we got these babies that's interested in teaching, where they come in and they work as a volunteer tutor, and they can help other kids, because a lot of our kids cannot afford, private tutoring, and they need it.
So that again, I think we focus too much on so one of the reasons why we created ComForce is because we know we have never been able to completely rely on these entities, these systems to do what they're supposed to do for us. So part of what ComForce does is not only help people navigate through these existing systems, if they're going to exist and people are going to utilize them, we help them through that process and we try to better that process for them. But we also have to understand that we need to build alternatives, because MPS is not going to work for everybody else. Everybody. And so, like Gab said, this is part of why we did the school version of Program the Parks, which is ITAV, where we had a library program, we had a computer lab, and we had all of our young people from ages, I can't even tell you the youngest kid we have, probably about 4 or 5, all the way up to 18. You know what I'm saying? And some of the young people we worked with and they had been in our program before, maybe a year or two, and became they got up to 20 years old in some instances. But though, they were helping each other with homework. They were helping us lead, the tutoring section, because when they came into the school after school, they had to bring their book bags and their homework. Before they got to go into the game room, or we did anything fun or went into the studio program or whatever, they had to make sure their homework was done, or they had to pick a book from the library, and they had to give us a feedback of what they read and what they learned. So those were different age groups, all kind of assisting and helping each other. You know what I'm saying? In that small amount of time, it was like an hour that we had them do that. But that stuff is possible. You know what I'm saying? We definitely about to get into this MPS stuff. I think we should, unless anybody got anything to add about the plan, which we can, the reason why we did this live is for people to just start the conversation. It don't have to end once we stop it and once this live goes off. We want people to add in and chime in As long as this is up, it's gonna be up. And I need people to add to it, and all of that. So if nobody else has anything to chime in on about the plan, we definitely need to get into this educational piece, because this is a like conflicting, serious issue, and I think it is something that we need to get to. So unless anybody else got anything to add on the previous stuff, we gonna hand it over to Shantia. And Shantia, your audio is kind of like low,
Okay.
like it's kind of
Still not better.
Extremely low.
Oh Lord. I might have to try to do it from my computer because I don't think I can do anything about my audio. Okay, let me try to. I'm gonna join via my computer. Give me 1 second, and hopefully the audio is better on there. So I do want you guys to be able to hear what I have to say. It's quite a bit of imperative information. So just bear with me for a second. I don't know if y'all want to try to grab another topic real quick or address some of the comments and questions in the chat while I get this set up.
The questions, Vaughn. You got quite a few questions in there. Mr. Mays.
yes, ma'am.
Hello. Address the
Yeah.
questions. You got quite a few of them. You got quite a few questions in the feed.
Okay, can you read them if you see them and I don't?
I'm driving. Hey, Gab,
Yeah.
can you read them?
Yeah, I thought that's what Gab signed up for.
What happened?
The comments, girl.
Oh, I did. That is my job.
I see a couple from Rodney. He said, can ComForce require young people to be involved in school to participate in activities run by ComForce? Oh, we do. So this is the thing. ComForce is separate from Program to Parks. It is a different entity that would kind of fall under Program to Parks. And one of the things that if in the plan, when I spoke about what Program to Parks did, one of the things that we did, like, of course, we work with them in the parks. So it was part of them engaging in our program had to do with their behavior and the things that they did in the park with us, or when we weren't there. So if they did something when we weren't there a certain day and somebody told us that, and it was something bad, that would affect whether or not they got to participate in a stipend program, got to go to any of the outings, the Bucks games, etc. But that also carried over into school, because I'm gonna tell you what happened. We're talking about Program to Parks as if it's just fun stuff. But when I tell you, and Gab can attest to this, and many people can attest to this, when I tell you at home, mothers was calling me like, hey, this is what they did at school today. They talked back to me at home today. Like that I turned into everybody damn near park dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I used to be on the phone like, what I'm supposed to do? Like, you calling me, telling me. So yes, we definitely put a level of expectation on them that goes beyond what we can see, because their parents or themselves would tell us they skip school, they get in fights all the time, they got suspended. We check in with them all the time to see what they're doing. So we do put those expectations, we do put those goals on them. Stop getting suspended so much, go to school, quit skipping. You know what I'm saying? And we follow up and we get those reports from them. And a lot of them, it don't work all the time. But a lot of them, even if their grades didn't go up, they stopped skipping so much. You know what I'm saying? Even if they stopped skipping, they skipped or their grades went up, behavior at home changed for the better. You know what I'm saying? So it goes beyond the park stuff and the fun stuff for us. It's a wraparound of, this is how we get in tune with you, and then we're gonna work with you on a one-on-one basis as best we can to see what are your issues and what are the root causes for them. You know what I mean? And from working with that young person, we then got to work with their parent, their siblings, their aunties and uncles, on whatever it is they need in the house, jobs, food. You know, they get referred to like Farina's events or programs or our pantry. Like, and we develop this expanding relationship more deeply into their personal actual lives. And then you start to see the family aspect a little bit better. You know what I mean? And that even gets better. So there are those expectations when we deal with young people in a certain aspect.
All
How
right.
much?
Can
My
you
bad.
hear me? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure y'all can hear me. I thought you was
Yeah,
done.
a
You
lot
good?
better.
Okay.
Take it away.
Said take it away. All right. So we're gonna start with the first issue. If you didn't catch it when I went live a couple days ago, and I'm speaking from the place of a parent. Okay. My daughter had her parent teacher conference and they said she was missing assignments, right? So I was ready to wring her neck. Long story short, fast forward, I found out that the Wi-Fi has been deleting your child's homework. So if you have had an issue with your child being able to turn their assignments, or the teacher is saying that the child is missing 15 assignments and your kid is like, no, I'm not, like I turned it in, they probably did. Now, my problem with NPS about this is that I not only notified them, I notified DPI, and I notified my daughter's school. And I told them, either you let people know what's going on or I'm going to say something. That was back in October. None of you guys know that that was an issue. And so I dropped it in a educators group to see if it was just a Milwaukee thing or was it a fluke thing. No, this is a nationwide known issue. Okay, so let's start there. I still am waiting to hear back. I talked to Spectrum. One of the texts from Spectrum stated that they have been receiving phone calls. It hasn't been like a common thing, but they have been receiving phone calls from parents really frustrated about their kids' homework disappearing. So my advice to parents right now in regards to that, if you know how to hit print screen, it should say PRTSC on your computer keyboard, hit print screen. It is going to drop the picture of your child's homework assignment turned in into a Dropbox or a screen share, a screensaver box where you can go back and load it up if the teacher ever contests and say that your child's not turning in the homework. Now, let's fast forward some more issues. Today I was delivered with some rather conflicting and a little disturbing news. I was informed that after the board went live yesterday, they decided to go ahead and vote for schools to reopen April. Now I'm saying this is what I was told, okay? And it's supposed to open in 3 phases, and those phases are April 12th, it is kindergarten through 2nd grade. April 19th, it is 3rd through 8th grade. April 26th is high school kids. Now, I just got an email saying that they weren't going to open back up the school. So obviously I was pretty upset about that, trying to figure out what and why. So after doing a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of emails, I finally got to the root of the issue, because even a lot of the staff and principals were confused and thinking that it's a mandatory thing, that we are definitely going back in April. Well, it's not mandatory. It is not a definite thing. I finally found out. But what I did find out is that they are sending back the self-contained special ed students February 8th. And I'm quite sure you guys probably seen that in the news article as well. Now I have an issue with that, because those children are more susceptible to catching COVID than maybe somebody of my caliber or my other children's caliber, because they have so many health conditions. So I was like, why would they make the kids go back to school? Well, the problem is the kids were never getting the resources that they needed. Nobody was out here, knocking on the doors like they would do if you missed too many days at school to make sure these kids got their supplies. So I'm going to read to you some information that was delivered to me by Senator Taylor, because I did reach out to her and she said, hey, you got it from me, you got it from me. So DPI asked MPS to present them with an opening plan of action. And their focus was really supposed to be around the special needs kids. MPS did not deliver this letter on 3 different occasions. They asked for a letter back October 16th, and they did not respond. They were informed that the consequences the consequences for failure to meet the IDEA, which is the Independent Individuals with Disabilities of Education Act. They said the failure to meet those requirements were going to result in they weren't going to stop. They weren't going to take away their funding, but they were going to put it on hold. So then they were notified again, DPI, saying, hey, where's your opening plan? December 11th. Your plan for the special needs kids on December 11th. They laid out a timeline to come into compliance with the law and what would happen if it did not occur. This letter was also noted that they had been communicating with MPS since July. So they had plenty of time. I just want y'all to catch that. Then they were notified again, January 7th, to provide an extension to the timeline that they were given in December. So they have been given ample amount of time. Just long story short, MPS has been given ample amount of time to create a plan to open the schools, or not open like as in like, we coming in, but to come up with a plan that will provide the special needs kids with adequate education. Because that's what a lot of the issue is that the special needs kids are not getting their needs met. Now, this is not to say that they didn't all have to necessarily go back into the school, but I'm quite sure there would have been some people who are willing to do maybe a home visit once a week to see about a kid under certain circumstances. But to just say that we're going to open it up and we're going to put everybody back in when it's not even everybody that needs to be in person is ridiculous. Furthermore, to touch on the issue, I had a question about transportation. MPS has not paid contracts this school year. So I don't know what they're going to do with transportation. And that's another big issue that we have to try to figure out, because from what I was told on how a lot of these other people are thinking is that they're going to, if I have 35 kids in one of my classrooms, are they going to put all 35 kids in the classroom? Well, I was told no, because that was my concern. They said that if I was told by someone that if and when they do open, they're going to open under phase 2, which is supposed to be a split between virtual learning and in-class learning. So we got 2 issues. They are going to put us back in, they're putting the kids back in school February 8th. The kids that they're putting in school are the self-contained kids. I don't think that that's safe for the kids or the staff, okay? MPS needs to be held accountable for not having their stuff together. And that's just that's the gist of it. I can't see any questions or concerns, but right now it's a lot of gray areas. The people that I've talked to that have all the accurate information about school returning, I have asked them to go out and publicly clear the air and be transparent, because they're not being transparent about what they're doing and what they're not doing. And so I have an issue with that, because I personally am prepared to not go back. I'm not risking my life. I'm sorry. And I love my kids.
Yeah, I have a number of problems. And one thing about Shantia, she has you get certain people who are just passionate about this thing, and she be like, MPS, and I be like, but this my thing, man. Whether I've heard March and I've heard April, regardless of whichever one of those it is, I cannot understand why we would put children back into physical school at this point in time. At the end of the year's finna end. Not to mention, since school has ended physically, I am very much so concerned about people's level of the quality of education that has been received this whole time. When we talk about when people are physically in the classroom, we know that a lot of people are not getting adequate education, and they're getting pushed along to why a lot of this stuff, we talk about people's grade level and education and all that. Imagine that times a number that we don't want to even talk about.
Exactly. And I busted out on that too. When I called them, hopped on them about the Wi-Fi, y'all see all this reprimandum or whatever they call them going around looking for new curriculums and books. It's because I told them I'm working on a math book. Most of y'all know this. And as I'm writing a math book over the summer, I'm comparing it to the 4 state standardized tests that we use to the books that I'm supposed to teach with. And they are a year or two behind. How am I supposed to get this kid together? How am I supposed to get a kid ready for a test that you are purposely giving me bogus material to prepare them with? I went in one school, they had an English book that I was using in 8th grade. Where is the money going? And I really told people, I said, I don't care at this point, because what I'm not going to do is continue to allow you to purposely undereducate these kids, not on my watch. And parents, you guys have the say-so to go and demand a better curriculum. When these curriculums and these books come out, get out to those schools and look at them. If you don't know what it is that your child needs to know for their grade level, please contact me and I will get you that information. But this has to stop.
You should tell people about the group that you started, because this is why Shantia is a part of ComForce, and that she is kind of leading anything really dealing with education, because that is her level of expertise in her lane. She has created a group, a support group for parents, and just in general, but on the education field as well, because she has that insight. People need to join that group and learn, and be brought up to speed about what they need to know about what's going on in the school system. If they got questions about the stuff she just mentioned,
if they want to help,
and y'all need to be ready and prepared to organize amongst each other to do actions and to go and advocate and push for the stuff that she's saying that we need to. You know what I'm saying? Because TPR cannot do protests here for that. I can't do it. School is a very, and this ain't just a knock on MPS, because I have a problem with a lot of the stuff that's going on. Listen, my kids, when COVID first happened, I had a huge problem because they went to I can't even remember what school it was, but it's off of Burleigh on the east side, and I think it was like some type of Christian school. But they gonna send a letter home like 2 weeks after school stopped, talking about one of their staff had COVID, and y'all just now saying, now you didn't say if this was a teacher. I don't even know if my child had interaction with this person, but you gonna wait 2 weeks, probably 3, almost a month, really somewhere between 2 weeks and a month, before y'all just say this, and you say it like, yeah, by the way, back when your kid was in school, somebody had COVID, and we just thought you should know that. Like, come on, man, what are y'all doing here? You know what I'm saying? So I am concerned about people returning to school. Listen, and this was a predominantly white-led school, staff, principal, teachers. Now, did y'all not see me go to a protest with all white folks who come down here in Milwaukee and teach and own stuff, and they were not wearing masks? They say they didn't care if they get sick or die. You think I want my kid somewhere in a classroom with somebody like that? Hell no.
And that's my issue, because there's a lot of them like that.
These are problems. And I mean, I really don't know how we can jumble and come up with a plan to really address all of these different factors. You know what I mean? And I know the home learning thing ain't the answer for everybody. In person ain't the answer for everybody, but we need to really come together and develop an adequate plan that is going to be safe for everybody, that is going to be efficient and effective for the young people who need to learn. Because again, I'm very concerned, but I can't invest a lot of time and energy into these specific things to the level that it needs to be done, which is why I kind of like just don't even, if I can't put my all into it and really get to a point where we can affect change, I'll try to not stay away from it, but I'll try to, I don't even know how to describe it, but y'all, I think y'all can kind of get what I'm saying. But Shantia, again, the group that she's created, this is a opportunity for people to get together and be that force that directly puts all y'all energy and attention into this problem. And I can aid and assist. ComForce can aid and assist. And it don't matter what school it is, if it's public, private, charter, wherever the case may be, if there's a problem and it's about the students, y'all have seen us pop up in schools. It don't matter what it is and what it's about. If it's an advocacy issue, we will aid and assist.
Yes, and don't get me wrong, because I've had dealings with both public, private, all public, private, charter. They all got their demons. Do you hear me? All of them. Okay. So it's not to say like, MPS is doing a horrible job. No, they have their good points, but the thing is, it's not enough and it's not spread it out enough. Okay. But I will touch on Parents Unite MKE. I started like earlier this month. And it really stemmed from me wanting to really bring about a parental unity amongst the community so that we can really start taking accountability and back our youth. Because what I know, like what I shared with the group when I started, so what I noticed is that women in my age bracket, which I'm 35, I'm okay with saying that, we tend to not have very good relationships with our parents, okay, and especially our mothers. And so we grow up saying, I'm never going to be like my mother. Like, I'm quite sure my kids probably done said it a couple times too, but in actuality, when you grow up around that particular person, that's all you know, you may shed and dodge some of those generational curses, but sometimes that stuff still does seep in. And by the time you realize it, if you're even conscious enough to pay attention to what you're doing, it could be too late. So my thing when I started Parents Unite MKE was to first bring parents together so that we can lean on each other for real support. People like to get on Facebook and act like their life is this glitz and this glam, and they look at Love and Hip Hop and Married to Medicine, back of all basketball wives, all that stuff, and thinking that that's how life's supposed to be. And it's not. I wanted people to come to a space, have a space where they can come and say, you know what? I about like choked the shit out of my daughter today, or I did choke her because she took $20 out of my purse, but I didn't mean to do it that much. Okay, well, guess what? Putting your hands around her neck probably was not the best result. Let's find another way. How can these people find other ways if they had no other way to look? So if you come into Parents Unite MKE, just understand and know that you are going to get very raw and uncensored conversations that hit home. I'm trying to put together, we have our panel. We're going to talk, like, I'm trying to think about doing it like once a week or once a month where we have these discussions, talk about generational curses and which ones did we try to avoid, which ones did we not avoid, how do we get over these things? I have parents and I will admit this, and it's not the greatest thing to admit, I've gotten mad enough where I've called my daughter out of her name. And I felt horrible because I remember the day when my mother did it to me and it stuck with me. But it's like, what do you do? How do you stop that? So I want us to be able to come together and figure out how to break down these generational curses. That's the parental aspect. On the educational aspect, I'm trying to build a powerhouse of educators who really, really are about these kids. And I would love for us to be able to get together and work simultaneously as a unit to hold free tutoring sessions every weekend, because these kids need this one-on-one tutoring. Sometimes their parents want them to have the tutoring, but they can't afford it. And I feel like we should be able to give these kids this education for free, show them the way. Instead of talking about them and telling them what they should do, we have to show them, and we have to be okay with meeting them where they are. So that's what Parents Unite MKE is. And it's to tackle those issues in the school that you feel like you don't have a voice or you don't know how to navigate. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes I look through the MPS portal and I'm like, what is where? You click, it's so much stuff to click on. So we're gonna be breaking down that parental, the parent code book or policy book, so you can know exactly what your rights are. You feel like you can't get through to your child's teacher because your child's teacher being a little douchebag, because I'm gonna be honest, there's some of them that don't need to be nowhere near nobody's kids, okay? Because them attitudes is horrible. You come talk to me. They don't like me. They cringe when they see me coming. Okay.
Hold on, let me say this, Shantia, in reference to the internet thing. My daughter go to her class, and every time her and about 12 other kids come in the classroom, the teacher kick them all out and mark them absent for the day. So then when I call up to Rufus King Middle School and say he keep kicking them out of class every day, he do the same thing. Oh, they never showed up. That's a lot because I'm standing right there with him.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
And then he don't give them no work, no nothing.
No, call DPI. That's what I did when I didn't like what my daughter was getting or not getting. Cause I told them, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I looked at my daughter, who's very smart and she's very teachable, very respectful. And I realized that she was not at grade level, even though they said she was, but she wasn't. And my thing is, what you're not gonna do with this one is just push her through the system. If she's not at grade level, let me know so that I can get on my job and make sure she gets there. The communication is not there like it needs to be. The transparency is not there like it needs to be. Just like they was asked 3 different times to present the DPI with a plan, they should have told people that, you know what, we're having a hard time coming up with a plan, or whatever the issue is, or why they don't have a solid plan. But right now, from what I am seeing, this is not going to work. This going back stuff. And I get it. My parents that's struggling, or if you got a special needs kid and you struggle with trying to teach them academics, you don't know what to teach them. I understand, but let me tell you, it is not safe. It is not safe. We were understaffed before COVID, and that is not a hidden, piece of information. Do you really think the quality ones is going to stay around? It was hard to keep them kids in their seats before COVID. A little plastic board around their desk and a mask. You know how many cuss words and titties and asses gonna be on them plastic boards? I'm gonna spend more time saying, put your mask on, stop writing on the board, than I am gonna teach.
But see,
they burnt up with the staff, but not with the kids.
Those plastic shields aren't gonna help much either.
No.
If a child is asymptomatic, if somebody is asymptomatic, a teacher, whether it's a child or a teacher,
you're not gonna know.
Shields are not gonna help.
They don't even know how to get transferred.
Trust me, I work in healthcare, and even with the mask on, it's still easy to catch COVID. I did it back in January and March.
And then there's 2 new strands out there. The dang on vaccine can't even put a torch to.
Listen, if you survive in Africa, that vaccine ain't gonna do nothing to you. It's gonna tickle it.
I think, oh, by the way, Shantia, there's a comment. Somebody said, do you know about the Black Tutor Hotline?
No, but I would love to know, because I will add it.
Definitely add that in the comments. Add that person to your group and figure out what that is, so that could be a resource for y'all. Also, man, I just feel like, one of the craziest things, I did a tour of House of Corrections, right? This is how I know people need to pay attention to when we say things like school to prison pipeline, when we say things like there's a purposeful, like, not teaching you in a fashion that's going to keep you seated in the classroom and actually learning something. It's going to make you more not want to pay attention, want to leave out the school, play, do dumb shit. Like, there's a very if you look for it, you can see the difference in quality or what's going on. When I went to the House of Correction, they have a high school in there. It's Franklin High School inside of House of Correction. White teachers, white staff. Now, I keep going back to this. Now, mind you, these are people who are in trouble. These are people who are in jail, and they are not in school. So they have put Franklin High School in the House of Correction, right? Small class size. But guess how many so they have about, maybe, I want to say 8, maybe a dozen students in these classrooms going for their GED or whatever it is they trying to get them to complete. But they have almost a teacher for every last one of those people individually. Now, what do you get when you get people who know what they're doing in class? They're adequate, they are doing the work, and then you get people who can't read, people who can't process information, and you put them in a classroom with people who can. And then we all know, when you try to make somebody read who can't read, what happens? They act the fuck out, right? We know this. But they still run classrooms in this fashion. Now, what they did at House of Correction, they put all of those type of people in the class together, and they gave them each a teacher to work one-on-one with them. And I'm on a tour, and this white lady is telling me how, we bring their grade level up from a 3rd grade to a 7th grade. And I'm like, all these white people who on the tour like, this is nice. And I'm like, what's y'all class size? How many staff y'all got? And I'm like, oh, okay, I get why. So this is the only place y'all gonna do this at when y'all know this is what should be being done in these classrooms. This is what I mean about having, I've even offered MPS or any school. If you have young people who are being suspended, young people who have, any whatever type of issue that people don't want to deal with, you suspend them for the smallest thing ever. Let somebody come in who want to work with those kids, who want to be an additional, so you can go ahead and teach your class. You don't want to deal with them, I'll deal with them. What's going on? What you need help with? I'll pull them to the side. Or somebody like Andre Lee Ellis, or somebody like, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who want to do it, who has the capacity to do it. They know that is something that's going to work, because as long as you keep teaching past those students, this is where the problem is going to come in at. And they can only be educated in a jail setting. You know what I'm saying? If they even want to waste their time to go to school and do it there. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the people who even do it in jail are people who like trying to, get their GED or whatever to like look better when they go to court. You know what I'm saying? Like by that time, you're not even getting the education for the right reason. So there are many approaches you can do to do it right and to do it adequate. And it needs to be done, especially if we're talking about putting people in spaces and in rooms during COVID at the end. Like this, I mean, like, what the hell? I really don't understand what's going on here.
What is 6 weeks of school gonna make a difference of something that y'all been failing at for years anyway? Let me tell y'all parents something. I'm gonna be 100% transparent with y'all. What you're seeing right now is what's been going on for years. So wake the fuck up with love. Take ownership and train your own kids in the way that they should go. Stop relying on somebody else that has no emotional ties, no emotional attachment, because not everybody's going to sit up there and try to build a rapport, a little badass Day-Day who keep backflipping off the table telling the teacher to suck his dick. She done. She don't want to go nowhere near him. Me, on the other hand, I'm going to grab little Day-Day up in the midst of that backflip. Hey, how you doing? Come up here. Spell it first of all. Okay? I'm that teacher. So, like I said, if you don't know what your kid needs to know, join Parents Unite MKE, inbox me. I'm not like that. I will give you plenty resources for free to help your kid, because I need this to stop, because this fight that TPR fighting, the fight that ComForce fighting, the stuff that Bushra and Shaquela out there doing with these DV cases, this shit is not going to stop until we address the issues with education. Because if our kids valued themselves a little more and it was a way more knowledgeable about what's going on around them, because they far from being sleep and dumb, they woke as ever. And I'm gonna need folks to stop sleeping on them. We wouldn't be fighting these battles as hard as we fight them. They wouldn't be coming as frequent as they coming. The MPD wouldn't be allowed to get away with the stuff that they get away with, nor with these judge, juries, and none of these other folks, okay? It would be our kids. Stop telling a grown person, yo, homegirl, girl, we all we got. No, them kids is all we got. You want your child, right now, with the education level that we see with these kids, are you okay with them writing your prescriptions? I wouldn't be. Are you going to be okay with them trying to figure out how to pass a law? I wouldn't be. But it doesn't mean that we can't stop and catch them now and teach them now. We can. I'm sorry, that's my spirit. I get about the babies, because I used to be that kid that grew up in a household where the mama wasn't there. I tell all my students from 12 to 15, I sold dope. And it was a teacher that saved my life. And so I refuse to let other kids grow up like that. I'm here to show you that you don't have to be like that. And like I tell anybody, that is the only way that I can ever repay that woman for saving my life, is by being that teacher. Yes. But by being that teacher. So I'm doing this for the kids. And when I say I will sacrifice it all for the betterment of Milwaukee's youth, I mean that. With sense though, because I ain't going in no classroom with no 35 kids. They just want to hear go free face shield in that face shield, okay?
Bushra, you in a tornado? What's going on?
Right, what's going on, Bushra?
I was just being attacked at the gas station. So I'm good. No, I'm just playing.
We're gonna try to wrap this up in 5 minutes, man, and get people out of here. If anybody missed this, it'll be up. You know what I'm saying, for you to go back and view and get this information if you missed it. I think a lot of vital stuff was covered here. We got more than enough stuff that people can join on to support. whatever the case may be. Again, I appreciate people in the comments who are adding other resources that I didn't know about, you didn't know about. We can add those and partner with people and different things that can help enhance what it is that we're trying to do. And again, the same way that I just referred, whatever that, Black tutors thing, like it ain't all about ComForce. It's not all about ComForce. ComForce is bringing, oh, they out here doing this. We of the people that we serve can use that. Let's add them to the piece of the pie. That's one less thing we got to do. Like, this is about a really unified effort under one umbrella. You got all these different organizations, all these different skill sets, all these different people who could do whatever it is they doing on their own. You know what I'm saying? But we are a collaborative fist. We are a bunch of fingers that came together to make the fist. You know what I'm saying? And we want to keep that energy going and that movement going, because we got a lot of, last year was a hell of a year. We got a lot done, a lot of crazy stuff happened, a lot of great stuff happened. We got to outdo ourselves this year. You know what I'm saying? We got to go to the next level. We got to get more done, become more efficient and effective. That's what our aim is. And again, man, we looking to build our team, man, with people who bout that life, like people who really bout this. We don't want to all that talking. Like, we got enough people to talk. We can talk enough amongst ourselves. We don't need, the solutions are there. The solutions are there. It's this, some of this stuff that I presented tonight, some of this stuff I've had town hall meetings in 2018 and presented, 2017. You have people who took this part from it and tried to go out and do it themselves, and they, you know what I mean? Like, so we trying to get it done. All right. And it's that time that it needs to be done, because we don't want to be back here to my man, a lot of people dying. Like, okay, did you do what we said you should have did? Did you take any of this into account? You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta get it done, man. And it don't matter, you know what I'm saying? It don't matter what somebody represent. If you can add something to the fight, that's what we gonna agree on, and that's what we gonna get to work on. So I don't know if y'all want to have any closing remarks before we wrap this up. We'll start with Farina at the top.
I got something to say real quick.
Yeah, man.
So only thing I have to say, and this is what I always say, and y'all know I always say this. When people come to the table, we need people to come to the table because you have a heart for the people, a heart for the community, a heart to really help out. We don't need people to come to the table so that you can use this as your trophy, or I did, or I can do. That's really not what we need. We need genuine people, because there's already too many people out there that's just out there for their own gain. And that's not what it's about for us, for ComForce, for the Dream Team, none of these groups that's based out of the ComForce. Then that's all I had to say.
Miss Shantia.
And on that note,
Right, I was just about to say, very well said, Nancy. I think that's right there. That concludes the meeting, because
if you come to the table without the right intentions, don't come at all.
Shakila.
No, me ain't got nothing to say at all. It was a great conversation, great talk. I appreciate y'all. Gained a lot of work to be done, even more. Next time, can we address the stolen cars and the car deaths? I can wait until next time for that.
Yeah. We didn't get into it specifically, like specific incidents or nothing like that, but the plan was to offer something for people who are the ones that's doing that stuff, in a way that we can. I don't even like using some of that. Again, I'm a person that I know the connotation of words, so certain terms I don't want to use, but this is supposed to be some solutions to people who do that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Bush already talked, I think.
Oh,
Bush.
and everybody share this live. Share this zone. Share this zone.
Oh, by the way, Shakila, we know that you are a pioneer. You know what I'm saying? You've been doing this for a long time. You got to get some of your stuff back out here this year, man. You need to take lead in some things. I done told you and Gab. I'm telling you. I've been telling Gab. Y'all need to
And excuse me, Mr. Mays, in your voice, I don't think that I'm gonna make the back, but I appreciate extending the invitation to your girl. I love you for it.
I don't know half of what you
No,
said. It sounded
wrong.
like computer. That's what it sounded like. So you just inbox that in the thing and I come back to that because I don't know what you said. But Bushra, you know.
What?
I thought it was just my computer, so I was like, wait.
But nah, I'm gonna jump off the porch this summer. I got something up my sleeve. So, but back, one thing, if you need somebody to help teach classes on electrical and all that other stuff, I got somebody in mind. Me and him got a bed bug removal company together. I got you, Mr. Mays.
Oh, what'd you say?
I said,
damn.
I said I got something up my sleeve for this summer, but if you need some help with the classes on rehabbing and things like that, the person I got a bed bug removal company with, he's more than willing to jump in and help the kids this summer. So just let me know.
All right. All right. P, what's good, bro? Take us out with some words before we get to
Hey, brother, I just love to see the work that everybody doing. I sit back and just observe, bro. And I see everybody jamming and I see this community coming together the way it needs to, bro. I love this and I mean that. I love being a part of this. That's it. That's all.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on board, man, and look forward to working with you.
Same here, brother. Same here.
Okay. Gab.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in and everybody who shared and will share. And like Vaughn said, Shakila, he said what he said. You see Shantia on this Zoom, Shantia being a cut. Shantia just do her thing from the background, but it's time for all of us to step up and step out. And regardless to whatever I get, acknowledged for or seen for or anything like that, I still have not been doing as much as I could and doing, getting out sooner and stepping up and stepping out how I need to. So this is the year for that. Like Vaughn said, it's 2021, the year of action. I've been in action, like Action Jackson in the since I stepped out with TPR. TPR kind of helped me do that. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all for that, P. For y'all going strong like that, because that even the youth P is certain ones, the TPR, but TPR as a whole like really helped me to see a lot of people as opposed to Vaughn, who I'm next to every day. Like he just action all the time. I see it, I know it. He say it, but it take for you to see certain stuff, for you to understand what somebody been telling you the whole time. So I appreciate everybody on here, for everybody that will step up and has stepped up and just in the background just doing you. But I'm definitely misstep up, misstep out this year. I'm on it. I'm on heels. Peace, y'all.
Semicolon.
What that mean?
It's I don't want to say period. So good night, y'all. This has been ComForce.
That was racist, but okay.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for watching and stuff. All right.
Love y'all.
Let me figure out how to turn this off when she say something.
ComForceville gang, everything.
No.
You gotta hit
gang, period.
Don't say anything else. Right. Mute her first.
Love fool.
We're still going. What the hell going on here?
You don't want to hang up from us, bro.
I'm sure trying.